Hello, YouTube. All right, I got a little worried because it said that live streaming wasn't available. I got afraid that I got banned again. Any case, this what you're about to watch is a collection, 2 hours worth, I believe, of the most watched videos on my channel since the inception of my channel, over 10 years ago. So you're going to see some older videos and maybe some obscure stuff. There's a couple of videos I didn't put in there, like there was a surfing video on how to surf single fins, which I don't think people are going to care about, and one of the Matrix videos, which I showed yesterday or the day before, so I didn't think I would have to share that again, but I'll do some more, most popular, but these are the most popular videos that have, some of them have 26,000 views and between like 26 and 20,000 views. And so I thought I would share them with you. And anyway, I hope you enjoy it. Here it comes. Let's see. Let's get this up there, and then I think this is it. Real esoteric spirituality without all of the fluff, without all of the nonsense. This is the thunderwizard.com YouTube channel. Click. Hi, this is Michael William Denny of the thunderwizard.com YouTube channel. So, when I'm wrong, and I know I'm wrong, I have to admit it. So if you haven't already seen me talking about experimenting with channeling, where I'm wrong. So, I've been focusing on two channelers that I've had an emotional reaction to. One is Daryl Anka, who channels BASHAR. Because when I watched him, I've talked about this before, he looks like a cartoon character. It looks bad acting. It looks like it's overacted. A lot of the stuff when I've taken bits and pieces of what he's said, it sounds, just outright ridiculous, if not just typical new agey. So I am watching more of him. This time I'm watching an interview with Daryl Anka, and somebody's asking him all the questions that I would want to ask, which is, what is your experience like? What's happening to you? How are you feeling? All that kind of stuff. That, and combined with clips of, BASHAR doing his thing. And I'm not so sure that the guy's being deceptive anymore. I can't say whether or not anything is true, but neither does he. And part of me goes, well, that's really convenient. Play that game, and that's the game I want to play, which is say, well, it could be myself, or it could be a real entity. None of us knows. The whole point is, what's important is what is said. Does it help you? When he talked about his experience with the communication with the entity BASHAR and what happened, it was exactly the same experience I've had when I've communicated with celestial masters. Now, up until now, I haven't channeled any. And up until now, I haven't even asked their name. What has happened is that I've been in meditation. Here's the thing that I'm learning
It never happens without my seeking it out. Never. It's never forced upon me. But there have been times when I've really needed answers and help and guidance. And so in those times in meditation, I will ask for something, some piece of knowledge, or could be something. It's always been so far focused on meditative techniques and practices. And what has happened is that I get them. Now it happens incredibly subtly, which when it does happen, it's very easy to second guess it and think it's your brain talking to itself. Except for the fact that, what first happens is that's exactly what happens. My doubt kicks in and goes, yeah, that's just my brain. That's just me fantasizing. It doesn't mean anything. And I tune it out. Perhaps we all do this. But the times when I have really needed it, I've asked for help and I've gotten a very subtle response, visionary experience or a sound or just an intuition towards something. And then what will happen is I will accept that and follow it, and the results are incredibly powerful. Along the lines of, when I go into trance and I want to know the past. That's my thing. If you look at my Vedic chart, what you're going to see is I have 3 planets in retrograde: Mercury, Saturn, and Jupiter in my Vedic chart. And Jupiter especially is in the 8th house, retrograde, which means that the 8th house is the house of transformation, of transforming from life to death. Jupiter is the spiritual, the priest, the guru, the spiritual teacher. So the spiritual teacher is in his own house of Pisces, in the house of spiritual transformation from life to death. It's a very challenging house, by the way. And not only that, he's retrograde, which means he's looking into the past. And as you know, I'm very obsessed with the past, and if I could snap my fingers and go back there just to see it and experience it and feel it, I would do it. And I've had experiences like that, and then what I do is things will come to me. There are things that have come to me during ritual and during trance that, at the time I didn't think much about. Like one is, and I'm not going to share it live on this video, but one is a chant that I received. Specific to, I won't even say his name, specific to a very specific god of the Germanic tribes. And I went through the ritual and I did it, and some really intense things happened, which are too personal to share, but like movie type stuff. And then what was interesting is that later on, totally unrelated, I'm doing some research about this deity, and I'm finding out that what I chanted is exactly what our ancestors did. So I was chanting an action that we know from a historical perspective they actually did. And that blew my mind. And I went, whoa, I didn't just make that up. That was given to me, because there's no way I could have known that. So that experience, that's been my experience with it. Now I'm listening to this guy, Daryl, Anka, and he's talking about his experience, how BASHAR communicates through him and contacted him. And at first I'm nodding my head and I'm figuring out, okay, you did that, you did that, you did that. And that's like, oh, well, that sounds exactly like me. Then when they're playing the clips of the guy and I'm listening to the core message, it's the exact same message that I am giving in my most recent books. The Shamanic Secret to a Perfect Life. The book I'm working on now, Dying in Battle. The main theme of that is that there is only one purpose in life, and that purpose in life is to experience joy. That's it. There's nothing else to accomplish. And that whatever path of service we take is a direct result of us following our joy and our passion. Nothing else. There's no shoulds, there's no nothing. That the only thing that matters is that we go after our greatest dreams. Now this is, you know, I've written about my experience of that and how that healed me. How that healed me of all kinds of chronic physical illnesses, age-related whatever. And I'm in incredible health now as a result. I lifted a little too much weight, gave myself a hernia, but you know, other than that, I'm in better health than I've been in my life. And so that's been kind of the focus of my latest teachings. Well, it turns out that's exactly his message. And when I listen to it, it's the same thing. And it's something that somebody commented on in one of my videos. And she said, sounds exactly, about one of my channel experiences, says, sounds exactly like everybody else. Maybe, you know, so I got to take it off. I think the guy's, I'm not going to say legit. I think he's honest and sincere. I think he's tapping into the same message that I am. The whole channeling thing and the alien, all that kind of stuff, I don't know anything about that. I don't know the point of that. I'm still wrapped up in the why do we have to have the circus performance? Why can't we just simply, in our own state of consciousness, get out of our own way? There's something that he said that I've experienced, not only as an actor, as a musician, but when I channel, so far, I've done it 2 or 3 times now, I've had the same experience, which is he says that there is no doubt or hesitation with BASHAR. When BASHAR speaks, he speaks without any self-doubt, without any, he doesn't hold back, and he has, there's no editing going on, because, you know. So on the one hand, when somebody could say, well, you know, of course, he's giving himself a role to play, and that's liberating him and getting him out of, lowering his inhibitions. Which makes perfect sense. That's what happens when when I've acted. That's what an actor does. You know, they lower their inhibitions and take risks. I mean, the big thing about acting is taking emotional risks and putting yourself out there all the time. That's what acting is all about. Getting to the truth of the individual. And when you're acting and in that moment, you're really playing that character, you feel more authentic and more real than you do when you're being your normal self, because you don't have your ego judging you all the time for what you say and how people are going to see you and all that kind of stuff. You're allowing yourself to fully be somebody else. And that has been my experience with when I channeled Chandra Raja. And it's interesting. I've tried to come to the channeling sessions with an idea of, I have an agenda of what I want to say, and I come to it with that, and then in the beginning I'll do something and it goes someplace I didn't expect, and usually not at all what I had planned. And so I find that interesting. So I still am trying to, maybe I should stop trying to figure it out. I mean, I have a couple of fantasies. I'm going to share my fantasies with you. And one fantasy is that I continue to play this role, and I continue to dive into it. And as a result, everybody who comes to experience me channel knows that this is my intent, to play a role, to play a character, with the idea that all of us are in on the joke, but that there's still something valuable that is coming out because I'm uninhibited. And so some truth is coming out as a result of that. That's my fantasy. And I'm realizing I'm wanting to play this fantasy even more. I'm wanting to go so far as to, you know, and I'm somebody who has transmitted energy before, but I want to see what happens when I don't have any inhibitions. You know, and I transmit energy to people. So I'm just sharing that with you, and I'm realizing that again, for me, what I want is that there is an in-between spot, in between the worlds, there's a reality there, there's a vibrancy, there's a realness that I want. And that is, what's the word for it? I don't have a word for it. But I can see it, I can sense it, I can feel it. And it is scary. But I'm still going to go after it. I'm going to go after it. So that's it. I may want to ask questions. I don't know. Here's something. Let's try this. Why don't, if anybody's listening, why don't you guys ask me questions? If you were to ask, and you know, make them good questions. I don't know. I guess you can ask whatever the hell you want, but ask questions about this. If you were to ask Chandra Raja a question, what would you ask him? Put it in the comments, and I'll tell you what he says. Okay, that's it. Entering altered states of consciousness, traveling outside of the body to alternate realities, communicating with beings of light, communicating with animal spirits, communicating with spirit guides, even aliens. Is any of this possible? The answer is absolutely yes. Our ancestors have been doing it for thousands of years, and it's a science that today we call shamanic journeying. But it's important that you know the 5 basic steps to a successful shamanic journey. The good news is that anybody, if they follow these 5 basic steps, can achieve an altered state of consciousness, and you can travel to other dimensions and speak